I'm so happy to be welcoming everyone on our 60th episode of Trends Literature Series, which started in the pandemic last year. And I'm delighted to share that a lot of eminent authors and thought leaders have already shared their diverse views and discussed their books on it. So it has indeed been a very, very humbling and soulful journey for all of us at Trends. And I'm Neeta Aneja, and I'm the founder of Trends, which is the platform for art, cultural, social, and literary experiences. We normally record all the interactions and put them on YouTube channel. Do subscribe the channel, and you can always go back to all our older author interactions and watch them and get all the notifications for our future ones. So with me today, and this definitely happens to be our landmark episode because this is our 60th episode, we have Tanushree Poddar. She quit her 8 years in the corporate after she decided to follow her heart and take up writing. She's a veteran of 19 books, and she definitely and surely is a versatile writer. A nomad by heart, as she says, loves nothing more than traveling and books and writing. So today we are fortunate enough to discuss a recent release by her, which is, I'm going to show you the book, The Girls in Green. This has been published by Bloomsbury, India, and it is a story not only about soaring ambition and punishing military regimes, but also about gratifying rewards and the joys of friendship. So welcome, Tanushree. It's such a pleasure to welcome you today on our platform.
Hi, Neeta. I'm so happy to be here. And since this happens to be a special episode, your 60th one, I think I have been fortunate enough to take part in this. And I welcome everyone who's made time to be here this evening. And thank you all so much. We look forward to an exciting session.
Thank you, Tanushree, for your words. So as you say, and you've said that multiple times, that writing any book is all-encompassing and time-consuming job. But writing a book about the army, I'm sure, takes a lot of time. So please do let us through about the making of The Girls in Green, how you wrote it and how was it different to write this one than your multiple books that you've written till
now? Actually, Neeta, this happens to be my fourth book, military book. Before this, I think I'm having a little bit of an issue. Am I clear?
Yes, you're totally clear.
Okay, yes. So this is the fourth book, as I'm saying. The first one, I stepped into military books, the genre in sometime around 2008. And it was meant as a, very light-hearted gift to my husband. That was the first book. And that is that, Boots, Berets.
Yes.
Yeah, this one. It was supposed to be, some sort of a collection of his days at the NDA. He passed out from the NDA. And most of the time I would find his course mates and other officers, getting very excited whenever they met and they would discuss, what happened those days. And there was so much joy in their voice and, the feeling of camaraderie. I just wanted to bring that forth in this book. And it proved to be a gold nugget because lots and lots of people got back to me saying that they loved the book. They were motivated. Lots of young boys got back to me saying that they were motivated to join the army. Fantastic. It was such a satisfying and very rewarding kind of feedback. And I was so thrilled. And as you must be aware, this is now going to be made into a web series.
Yes.
And thereafter, it was so popular. It's been so many years now, and it still is one of the best sellers. And then what happened is my publisher asked me, why don't you write some more? And so I carried on, and in fact, I happened to be invited at the IMA, Indian Military Academy at Dehradun, which was a very, very big honor because they don't invite so many people, and least of all, women writers. So I think I was very blessed. I went there, I spoke about my book, and I had very fruitful interaction with the cadets. And when I was signing the books, they all asked me, why aren't you writing one on IMA? And so my publisher had also been asking me. So then I wrote On the Double, which was the second one. And these books are not like the usual army books. They're fun. They are, something like your Chetan Bhaga's book set in the management college. So they are about four friends and how they go through the training, the escapades and the mistakes they make and the rigorous schedules and things like that. And then, both the books are very, very popular. And that gave rise to another one, which is No Margin for Error. This was set against the background of the Mumbai attacks.
Yeah.
And then, as you know, this is the fourth one, which has already been taken for a web series. And this is about the girls in the army. And it is set in OTA, Chennai. Right. Because lots of women officers would occasionally come across me somewhere or the other, and they would ask me, why haven't you written anything about the women officers? We go through the same kind of rigorous trainings. We have our own hurdles. We have to, go through so many things. And as you know, they are doing very well. They are doing exemplary job in the forces. And definitely it, had to happen. And so this fourth book came to being.
Fantastic. And it's definitely, I must tell everyone, it's an easy read and you could just finish it in few hours. It's quite engaging. And I'm sure it is going to encourage a lot of women, a lot of girls into army, definitely. Very inspiring.
Thank you.
I love the gutsy story of the main four protagonists in your book, Bijli, Lakme, Shiny Joseph, Nati. And as I just mentioned, I'm sure through the stories of these girls, I'm sure a lot of girls will definitely be inspired to join the army. And most exciting thing after the book, I'm sure it must have been very satisfying for you. And I'm sure a lot of people will like to know, like now, since it's going to be made into a major web series. So how do you feel about it? And what are your expectations from the production house, which is going to make this book into a web series?
Neeta, I think it's the ultimate, respect and the reward that an author can expect. Getting the book translated into a web series or a movie is a very big thing for any author. And naturally, I'm very excited and I'm very thankful that it has happened. And, one thing is that we as writers don't have so much control over the production process. We can't, say that, okay, we want such and such to star in this episode or whatever. So basically, once you've signed, there isn't much that a writer can do because you give away the rights. But at the same time, this has been taken by a very big production house. So I expect that they will be as true to the story as possible. And they will do a very good job of it. I'm very confident about that. And of course, it's very exciting. And the whole process has been a very, very satisfying one. Because as you mentioned, a lot of young girls have got back and on the Instagram, also all over the social media. And they have given their own, comments. And they have been saying that this has motivated us further to join the armed forces. So, and the recent movies, if you see Gunjan Saxena and if you see so many other, web series also, there have been a lot of women protagonists in web series who are army officers or intelligence officers or something like that. So it's become a little exciting domain where not too much is known and people are curious. There's a mystery about the whole field, and this is a very exciting time to be in it.
And even the way you've written, one can really visualize various things in the book, and definitely it is definitely a very good material for a web series, and I'm sure we would love to watch it after reading the book.
Thank you.
You've been writing so many books lately, and I was thinking, I mean, how many hours in a day do you devote to writing? Because we are talking about the fourth book on military. Apart from that, in all, maybe 19, 20 books that you've already written, apart from various articles that you write. So how's it happening? When are you writing so much? I'm sure everyone will like to.
Neeta, as you see from my gray hair, I am not a very young person. And I started writing many years back. And I just released 3 books in August.
Yes,
this is just one of them. And the other 2 are different genre altogether, because I
horror
write
stories
in various genre. Yeah. So not horror. One is a horror. That's my first one in horror, actually.
Yeah, that's
and
pretty
one
well
is,
too.
yeah. And the other one is a detective. It's a 3rd book in the Colonel Acharya series. It's a detective murder mystery. And so, there have been these 3 different books, 3 different genre, 3 different sets of, marketing criteria. So it's been a very exciting time for me. As for, how many hours I write, I'm a very whimsical writer. I don't really have much, discipline.
Okay.
It sounds funny, my saying it, because I've written so many books, but I do not seriously, sit down and work for 5 hours or 7 hours every day. I work as and when it suits me and I feel like working. So there are days when I don't do anything. Then there are days when I sit down and work quite a bit. It depends on the, kind of my mood and environment and so many other factors. So, but then these 3 were done because of the pandemic. They were released, some were, postponed. Last year they were to be released and they couldn't be released. So it just happened to be a coincidence that they all came out at the same time.
Wonderful. But a lot of us writers and a lot of people who are fond of writing and would like to write, they always talk about this writer's block. So I'm sure you're the best person to ask that. I mean, do you ever suffer from writer's block? Because you don't seem to suffer from one. You've been writing. That's
I do. Yes, I do. I think everyone does. But you see, what happened is I try to use that time for something. Say, supposing there are spells when I can't write. In fact, there are sometimes long spells of 2 months and 3 months. That is a time I catch up with all other hobbies. I read a lot. So those times I devote solely to reading. That's like a time to refresh the brain, to create something new in your mind, because you let it rest, you give it a little time. So I feel that a writer's block can be positively used by doing something which is in the same field, and it reinforces your ideas, and at the same time it refreshes. It's like taking a holiday from writing and coming back with vigor. So it happens, but I use it for some creativity.
Yeah, and that kind of influences your writing maybe in future.
Yeah.
I also would like to announce, if somebody wants to be in the interactive round, you can message me personally, and I like to adjust everyone within the time frame. We'll finish by 6. And one thing more, which is I've been wanting to ask you, is that I know all your books, all your writing is original, but sometimes you get into this dilemma that you need to kind of not only write the way you want to write, but also cater to the readers. Does it happen to you too? Or you want to only do what you want to do?
Basically, I like to do the things that I like to do, because you cannot really be bound to the commercial side only.
Yes.
The moment you bind yourself, your creativity will ebb. There is no, saying what could go wrong, because you're just trying to get influenced by some market forces. That doesn't work as far as creativity is concerned. So I don't consciously do that. It might happen on its own, but then it doesn't really.
That's fantastic. So, you published your first book in 2000, if I'm right, right?
Yes.
This was the time when you had published. So, did you realize that when you published your book for the first time, did it really change the process of writing for you totally? I mean, I have a lot of authors today in the audience. So did it change your writing style? Did it influence the way you used to write?
Uh, See, Neeta, I have been writing for a very long time. I think I started writing in my very early teens. And definitely, you mature as you go ahead, You will. The writing style will develop into a more mature, voice. And you will pick on nuances on the way as you read, you define your own voice more and more. And for me, it's changed a lot because I was a journalist, I was a travel writer. So I had to shift my focus from there to these huge manuscripts, which are over a lakh words, and then to be pruned down and all that. So somewhere down the line, you learn to edit yourself. You don't go overboard. You learn to, be brief about what you're saying, not, go overboard and keep on harping on the same thing and get repetitive. So those things you learn with each book. You're maturing, your voice is maturing, and it is getting more definite. So it does happen.
And coming back to your book, Books in the Green, sorry, The Girls in the Green.
Girls in the Green.
Yes. So what was the hardest part in the book that you kind of, it was difficult for you to write, or something very challenging? I mean, which was the hardest part in the book, which you felt was very difficult for you to write about?
What happens is that you generally tend to gravitate towards one protagonist. When you have four protagonists, you sort of, develop a soft corner for one of them. And that happens very, very subtly, but it happens. And so, when I started writing, maybe Nutty's character was not so full blown. It wasn't so very overpowering. But I started, visualizing that funny girl with the, sort of light-hearted banter, and her approach to the entire training and life. She has a very different approach. And somehow I kept developing her character, and she grew more and more prominent. So it was a challenge to keep myself in check. And her parts are the most humorous ones, if you notice.
Very
and yeah, and now when I get feedback, I find that people love her. They mostly, they get back saying, we love Nutty's character. And so, the most challenging thing for a writer with several protagonists is to keep herself in check, not develop a soft spot, and keep it balanced. So after doing the entire book, when I realized, then I had to edit out quite a lot to keep it in balance.
And how did you come across, how did you decide the names of your protagonists? Billy and Nutty and all those names. So any real life names that you gave? And also I would like you to tell the viewers, how did you decide the name of
one thing about the academies is that they all have some names. So it would be abbreviated one of their own original name, or it would be something to do with their idiosyncrasies. So what happened is, as I imagined each protagonist, I sort of came up with a name, because I do like to do a little research about names. So when I placed Shiny, I wanted to give her the right name for that region, that particular area from where she comes. Then for even Lakme, I had to find out some suitable name for a girl in Shillong. And it so happens that I have graduated from Lady King College in Shillong. So I had a lot of, so I had a lot of Khasi friends, and I knew a lot of girls. So it wasn't very difficult for me to come up with that name. And I also wanted something which people could identify. So Lakme is a beauty product. So her name can be shortened into Lakme. So it fell in place. Bijli, her character being such, she's a very quick of reflex and a very, different kind of a girl. And she's also a sportsman, a sportswoman. So what happened is, I found this was the right name for her. And she's also known as Billy. Her nickname is Billy. So it's like a feline character that I have given her. she's got the same kind of reflexes. So it was, the names come after a little bit of thought. They don't come just, you don't name anyone just like that.
No, definitely. And how about the name of the book? Girls in the Green sounds very exciting, and it is quite telling, I must say. Yeah.
Something, I find it very difficult to go ahead with a book unless I've decided on the title. It's very funny. It's very funny, but I must have a title. And a title that satisfies me. So I went through a whole lot of titles. There were many titles I played around with, and each day I would come up with a new one. And I couldn't get started with the book because I wasn't getting a title that satisfied me. And it, I think, took me quite a bit. I was sitting on the book and I was wondering, if I can't get a title, I can't start the book. It's a very funny quirk, but that is the way it is with me. So each book of mine has first a title worked out. It must be satisfying to me, and then only I can start the book. So with this, when I hit that book name, The Girls in Green, I knew this is it. And then I started writing the book.
Fantastic. I think you've given a very important tip, I must say. Think about the title first and the book will follow, finally.
To me, it is like that.
Yes. You've been married to an army officer, and you've written 4 books on military. So the 4th book is based on Officers Training Academy, Chennai, right? So what was the inspiration behind it, that you kind of set the entire scene in OTA? You've really, it seems like you've done so much of research on OTA. Because it was very, very nice to read all through, the way they were being trained, as if you know OTA like the back of your hand. So how did that come about?
I had no choice. The girls are being trained at present only in OTA. Okay. So I had to base my book there. And I made a couple of visits there. I stayed there. I spoke to the cadets. I spoke to the instructors. I went through the entire campus quite a few times. I asked questions. I took pictures. I even went into their living quarters and where they ate, their mess, and their playgrounds and the swimming and all the training grounds everywhere. And I even had a meal in the cafeteria, which is very widely depicted in the book. It comes up very often, Papa Ferdi, so his cafe. And I found that the cadets loved being there because that was like a big change for them. They used to go there, and Papa Ferdi was like a character I imagined who would be very, very, fatherly and very loving and understand the problems of the cadets and all that. So I had to go a few times to Chennai to do the research work.
Okay. That's interesting because, once I read the book and I've come to know so much about OTA that I wanted to ask you this question particularly, definitely.
In fact, Neeta, I had live with for Star Mark, Kolkata, with one ex-army lady officer. Okay. And she was asking me, how did you strike upon the mall and the right restaurant where they ate and the right place they used to go? And this comment came from many people, How do you know where all they go, which areas they like to frequent? So all that takes a little bit of, doing. You need to research a little bit.
Fantastic. This is, this is what makes the book special, the kind of work that you've done. And so how much time did it take for you to complete this book?
It took about a year.
I'm sure, because you've been really doing so much of work. And you were inspired. I read somewhere that you were also inspired by Captain Taina Shergill.
Tanya. Yes.
Tanya.
Yeah. The whole idea gelled when I saw the Republic Day parade, and this girl, Tanya, Captain Tanya, was leading the contingent. And she was so smart, I just couldn't take my eyes off that girl. And I knew that these girls are really, really very deserving, and they have worked so hard to reach where they have. And there's such a stiff competition. In my book, like I have mentioned, the the sword of honor. The
Yes.
sword of honor is a very big thing. You don't earn it so easily. You have to compete with the boys on equal footing and then be the best all rounder to get that.
So right. Absolutely. The Girls in Green definitely is a simple tale, as I mentioned, as it looks, but at the heart of it, it has really raised a lot of challenging points, especially the gender stereotypes and everything. And the four girls, they really learn a lot in their training of 11 months. And then you mentioned about the sword of honor, which they strive for. So they also realize that army is not just a profession, it is also a commitment for life. So it is definitely a perfect book for raising patriotic sentiments. So how do you feel about the response of the book? And do you also read the book reviews, which have been really good? And I've been reading some of the reviews on your book. Really fantastic.
Yes, of course. I always look forward to reviews. And it's always my humble request to all the readers whenever they read a book, because it matters so much to an author to, get motivated, to get a feedback. Good, bad, ugly, please put down a few lines of any book that you read. And I'm so glad that the readers have responded so positively to that book. And it has been accepted very well.
Yes, definitely. Congratulations for writing such a wonderful book. I would
Thank you.
also like to move on to the interactive round. I have Kabir Dev with me. He's an author, he's a poet, editor, content writer, and he's based in Assam. And he's also been awarded with various social journalism awards. And also, he was one of the most upcoming poets in 2019. And he's recently written a book on Irfan Khan. So, Kabir,
Yes, I'm aware of it.
is there. Like to.
Hi, Kabir.
Hi, Tanushree, ma'am.
So nice to see you here.
Same here, same here. I was just telling Neeta, ma'am, that I have read many of your books, especially the thriller ones.
Yes,
Uh,
I know. I know.
yeah. So I just had to ask you, since I'm a very follower of an old school thrillers like Agatha Christie and all of those. So what's the first thing that you find that today's thriller is missing in one or the other way? Means we generally go by it is a changing society, so the thriller form also has to change, but at the same time it is becoming too simple and it is losing the metaphors of what thriller actually come. I was just following a book by Stuart Turton. So he generally follows the metaphors too much, so that he can write a good thriller, not in a direct manner, but one has to really think about the thriller. So what may means your book is one of those books that make me think. So what is the one thing that you find that a writer of thriller should do in the first word, in the first line? I just ask you this question. Yeah.
That's a very good question and a little difficult to answer. But what I find today is this too much of violence. I know we are getting into a very violent society. At the same time, I feel the murderer, if he's intelligent enough, he doesn't have to really go and, you know, put 100 gashes on a person. That could be one of the rare things psychologically. That person might be deranged, but a murderer who is intelligent would maybe use a very intelligent method, which doesn't necessarily have to be very blatant and very gory. So that is one point I keep in my mind, because I don't like so much violence. And I have always been a fan of books where the sleuth is very intelligent, and he doesn't do so much legwork, but he has a very astute brain. He can put two and two together by using his intelligence. The Hercule Poirot kind. I am really inspired by that. So I have tried to stick to that format. You may say it is an old format, but it's a classical format which works for me.
Yeah, that was my question. I just want ask one last question. For example, if I read Bomkesh Bokshi, then I would just go. there's a social issue hidden in the subtext, not directly. Shardindu never says anything directly. He just keeps it in the subtext. But whenever I read today's thriller, especially of India, I just find that the social issue is being kept in a way on the forefront, and behind that the thrill is going on. So I sometimes I lose the thrill because of the social issue. So do you keep that in mind whenever you write your books, maybe thriller or some other book that you write?
Yeah, actually, Kabir, if you see, if you've read my books, in each of my book there is a social issue. It is not very blatant, it is very subtle. So an intelligent reader always finds it. I have had people telling me that I will love the way you have handled that social issue. So there's always a social issue, but like you said, it need not be kept in the forefront. It can be very subtle, but the message goes across.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. It
Thank
was
you.
lovely
Thank
to
you, Kabir.
Next, we have Dia. She's a creative writer and hopes to write her book someday. Yes, Dia.
Hi, Dia.
Hi. Like mom said, I actually aspire to write a book someday, especially after attending these interactions. Writing a book seems like an idea I would actually like to pursue. So I would like to ask you, since you are the author of 4 books, what advice you would give for first-time authors, and when do you believe is the right time to get one's book published? Also, I see that you love to write in different genres. What would you say is your favorite genre, and do you think it is beneficial to write on different genres?
Dia, firstly, let me tell you, these are very exciting times for writers. The world is opening up. Finally, Indian writers are coming to the forefront, which hadn't happened, say, about 2 decades back. There is a lot of acceptance. There is a lot of, the whole world is before you. If you're a good writer, you can write in any genre. I write in various genres because I find it very dull and boring to stick to one. Because I think, I would become repetitive. I would say the same thing. My thought process wouldn't, expand so much. But if I do different genres, I get a lot of stimulation. I do a lot of research work. Like in historical ones, I have done a lot of research. For military, I have done a lot. So I'm learning all the time. It opens my mind to a very, very wide vista. And it is challenging. Each time I write a new genre, it is very challenging to be writing in that because you have to research, you have to get the right nuances in it. So I would say that there is no right genre or a wrong genre. It is a quality of your writing that ultimately makes the mark. So you may pick up any genre. And yes, you should do what you are comfortable with. You should not choose a genre just because it is a happening genre. That doesn't work, because what works for another writer may not work for you. So it is safest and the best to stick to what you like doing best, because like we all know, when we do something we love, it's no longer a chore or a job, it is a pleasure. So just do that, write whatever you feel comfortable with, whatever you know. Also, you should know that field very well, especially for a first time writer.
Thank you. Thank you, Dia. Incidentally, Tanushree has written 19 books, not 4. You mentioned that, right? Now we have Mr. Vijay Shankar. This is the second last question we'll be taking. Okay. And he's an advocate in Supreme Court, and he's always on a forum. He's quite regular with all our interactions.
Ma'am, my question was regarding the web series or say films or whatsoever. Whenever any book on military or any real incident is converted into a film, the sort of liberties the filmmakers are taking, they have been taking in the name of artistic freedom. At times it becomes very unbearable, very painful. At times it starts even hurting the ethos of the armed forces. The way you saw the things happened with that Kargil girl, that Gunjak Saxena's movie, lot of controversy erupted. The same thing happened when Border was released. Because what we read about the actual events, the official account of the Battle of Longewala was completely different from what the movie had shown. A lot of people who were already alive when even the movie was released, they were shown to be dead. When officially there were only 2 casualties. Yes. Like Colonel Dharamveer Singh, he was shown to be dead. He is still alive.
This
And Subedar
happens
Sahab
so
was just,
often. Yeah,
yes,
Vijay,
ma'am.
I think you're right. You're very right.
Why
It
why
happens.
don't people protest? Why don't writers as well as the veterans protest against it?
Vijay, this is what I was telling Neeta. Once you have sold the rights of a book, you virtually lose control over whatever they are doing. It's literally their baby. They take over, they adapt it to the vision they have. Now, we all know how distorted the army, they has been through their lens. We have seen that Colonel Saab always wearing a golf cap and a gun and, chasing away his daughter's suitors, saying, "Mar dunga goli," and always a rum bottle in his hand. So there's such stereotypes, the characterizations. So basically, I think it's changing a bit, but still there's a vast scenario that needs to be changed. I don't know whether it will change so much, because I think somewhere down the line, the viewers also expect some big drama and a big, it's on drama baji, if you understand what it is. If they stick to the truth, maybe it will not be so exciting for the viewers, and they keep the front benchers, I think, in mind when they do these movies. What is exciting, what will get the CTs, and what will get the, entire crowd shouting. That is what I think it is. But eventually we are hoping that some things will change.
Thank you.
Like we had Vijeta a long time back in 1982. It was produced by Shashi Kapoor, with Kunal Kapoor as the protagonist.
Right.
And it was such a beautifully made movie, and the movie was made almost 4 years before Top Gun.
Yes.
Just 4 years before Top Gun, and it is considered to be the most realistic movie on the armed forces.
Yes, but if you recall, commercially it was not such a big success.
Exactly, ma'am.
So I think it is the market forces that they keep in mind while making a movie, when adapting a story. They are very conscious of the market forces, what the viewers want. They don't want to do something which the critics want. And we fall in the critic category. So they will never cater to us, they'll cater to the viewers. So viewership matters.
Yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am. Many, many congratulations for your book, and I'm looking forward to read all your books, not only this.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Vijay.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
One last question from Bindu Tandon. And she is, in fact, she's also an author. She recently wrote a fantastic book, short stories, book by the name of Beasts and Beauty, which is doing pretty well.
Okay.
Bindu, thank you, Bindu.
Okay. Thank you. Tanushree, congratulations on your success all these years and for your new book.
Thank you.
I haven't read your book and I will at some point pick it up. But my question is this: are you able to show the modern woman's struggles as an army officer? Because as well as the fact that being in a testosterone-driven atmosphere, how they tackle it or how they are tackled. Is that part of your book, or is it very, very clean and, high-minded?
No, there are parts which tackle that, because here I have a protagonist who's gone into the academy because her fiance has got in. And they have this rivalry and competitive, kind of atmosphere. And they eventually are going through a very tough time because of the challenges that performing better than the other, that kind of a situation. So basically they are, they have some rifts because of that reason. So you can say that in a way, and of course there are instances when the instructors themselves are a little biased, and all those are there. It's done very subtly, but it is there, very much there.
Fair enough. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All the best. Yes.
And
Thank
all
you,
the best
Neeta.
to you.
Do pick it up.
Sure. Thanks.
Thank you, Tanushree.
Thank you, Tanushree, for an engaging conversation. I mean, it was an immense delight to hear you and talk about the book and so many other related things. I'm sure the authors in the room would have really gained, and the aspiring writers would have gained really from your conversation today. And I wish you all the best for your book. And I'm sure the Girls in Green, published by Bloomsbury India, which is available online, will really do very well.
Thank you so much, Neeta. I am so honored to be here on your 60th episode. I thank you so much for inviting me to this show, and I wish you many more. And I thank everyone for being here. And I am sure they all will be able to go back with a little bit from me. And do pick up my book. And if you read, do drop in a review. It just takes a minute or two, but it makes an immense difference to the writer. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you, Bindu. Thank you, Kabir, Dia, Vijay, for being in the interactive round. And thank you, the audience. It's always so motivating to have you on. Thank you.
Thanks.
And
Congratulations, Neeta.
Thank you. Thank you, Bindu. Always
Thank you.
Support us. Thank you. Thank you so much. And please do subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can really look at all the author interactions. Thank you so much.